Cups in Mario Kart have 4 tracks. Today we're focusing on the second track of the cup. These tracks are, kind of forgotten a lot of time, and they're in the awkward middle section. They aren't the beginning of the cup, so they don't have that excitement, and they aren't the final or leading up to the final. So it's just like kind of there. So today we're going to be ranking all these misfits. We're ranking all the second tracks in a cup. Before we start, make sure to like and subscribe, and join the Discord if you want to know when I'm streaming or just hang out. To start, here's what the tiers mean, because this is also a tier list for those extra views. F tier is a dumpster fire of a quote unquote track. D tier means it's below average. C tier is the average of all the tracks. B tier is a bit above average. A tier is a really good track. And S tier is an amazing track I'd love to race on that I really enjoy. Anyways, let's get on to the tier list. 61 is SNES Ghost Valley 2. It was kind of teased during the F tier segment, but whatever. Not only is this track boring as hell to look at, because it's just nothing except Boyd and some booze. Not only is this the worst song in the whole series, it's so boring and melancholic, and it's just such a nothing song in all of Mario Kart. Not only is the track just not that compelling to race on, because it's pretty simple, you barely need to drift. But it's also hurt by the screen crunch of the SNES because half the screen is the mini-map. So this is just a shit Sunday on a shit Sunday. This is just terrible. So it goes straight to the bottom of the list at number 61. 60 is GBA Choco Island 1. The one good thing about this course is the skybox, even though it's just ripped from Sunset Wild, so is it really a plus if it's just taking an asset and putting it there? But whatever. The song is decent, but it's kind of forgettable. And the track is just very simple, and it's kind of just a nothing burger of a course that's pretty forgettable, and it's just there. You play it, and then you forget it instantly. 59 is SNES Choco Island 2, and this is just a bit higher than the GBA Choco Island 1, because unlike GBA Choco Island 1, I actually feel something. I fucking hate this track, man. Not only is it super ugly, it just looks like smushed up shit, that's about it. Not only is the track infuriating to race on, because of the mud pile in the middle, just ruining the pacing. It's barely even a hazard, it just basically a slowdown for the whole course to fix the pacing. It is just absolutely horrendous in every way. At least the song is okay, but this just is not pleasant on the eyes or pleasant to play. And even though it's pleasant on the ears, that really can't save it from the bowels of F tier. 58 is SNES Cuba Beach 2. This map's basically just a glorified circle, and yeah, it doesn't look like that, but when you're playing on it, it's literally just circle with a beach part, and then the rest of it is water where you're doing some slight weaving around water pools. It's a very boring layout. And this is probably the most ugliest track in the whole series. The green sand grass thingies, the sand yellow, the dark blues and stuff, the scrunchy cheeps, the rainbow blocks, all squished together on half a screen. It is just a pixely, mushy mess. And it is by far the most ugliest track in the series. It's not completely terrible though. I really enjoy the music, which I can't say for really Choco Island 2. But unfortunately, that doesn't save it from F tier. It's literally like top 5 worst tracks in the series, but it has good music, so that kind of lifts it up. 57 is Toad Circuit in the BCP. It's a semi-fun track to race on, even though it's quite short. The theme is okay, even though we all know the graphics are a bit but they're fine. They're passable. But the music's actually really good. I actually really fuck with the music. It's an F because it's quite literally the most pointless track of all time. It's not the first track of the BCP, that's Paris Promenade, which works as a great start to the BCP. It's the second cup, which is so weird because if you wanted a 7 Mushroom Cup track, Daisy Hills, Cheap Lagoon, Even, and Shy Guy Bazaar are 3 way better choices. Why would you go with Toad Circuit and then make Toad Circuit worse than the 7 version. Listen, Cheep Cheep Lagoon is not a good track, but I would much prefer it because it would actually feel like it fits and it matters, unlike a random circuit track. DS Banshee Boardwalk is 56. This is just so boring. That's about it. Its visuals are just absolutely nothing. It's literally just a black sky and some water. Where have you heard black sky with water and booze before? Well, besides water, it's literally just the background of Ghost Valley 2. But the boos are only there sometimes, which is so weird. It just makes the track a lot worse. I mean, when you drive over the bridge and the Cheep Cheep jumps out, that's pretty cool, admittedly. But the track is just nothing visualized, it's nothing music-wise, and it's pretty boring to play. Besides the obviously pretty decent Ghost House section, I do quite like that section. But that's like the whole point of the track, and I wish the Ghost House was more expansive and more big and took up more of the track, because most of the track is just driving on the titular boardwalk, and it's just nothing. 55 belongs to BCP Mario Circuit 3. This is a pointless track when Mario Circuit 4 still hasn't been brought back in 30 years. Why again did Nintendo pick Mario Circuit 3 instead of Mario Circuit 4 besides Wii nostalgia? No other reason, got it. The track is just also pretty ugly. It's very bright colors, but the theme isn't interesting. It's just bright colors go burr with the stupid rainbow blocks. And the music is pretty boring, all things considered. The track is fun to race online, but it is very bag heavy, which isn't a good design. A track should be able to front run or bag without being at a major disadvantage, and if it's just one or the other, or mostly due to bagging, to be honest, if it's just front running, it's not too bad. It's not great design. The track is fun, it's just pointless, and that's about it. The last course of F tier is 59, BCP's Sunset Wilds. Not only is this track boring as all hell, there is literally no point for this track because guess what? As we all know, the sun doesn't set. And when you take that away from Sunset Wilds, it's just a boring GBA track, even though GBA tracks have some of the most potential in the series. And even in the BCP, they can do fire stuff with GBA tracks. Look at Boo Lake or Lakeside Park. But for some reason, we just got boring ass Sunset Wilds, and it is just not fun to play, not interesting in the slightest, has honestly subpar music, and it's just so nothing. At least the track is semi well designed, you know, it's kind of fun online, but it's just so disappointing. We've finished F tier, and now it's the first track of D tier, at number 58 and 64 Sherbetland. This track is very basic. It's basically just Arctic water and a lot of ice. But hey, it has penguins, which are pretty cool, and we all know the big penguin in the center is pretty peak. It also just has a really nice icy song that I really like, as well as it being kind of fun to just jump over the cracks on the ice, which makes it escape F tier and get to the start of D tier. 57 is DS Yoshi Falls. This track is just nothing at all. It's literally a filler track in between the other 3 courses of the cup. I mean, the egg in the center is kind of cool, but it's just a set piece in an overall boring track, and even the theme is pretty boring and generic. And you know what? That's all this track is. It's filler, so let's just move on to the next. 56 is the Wii version of Yoshi Falls. I just want to say, out of all the retros you could have used from DS, Yoshi Falls was a priority retro that needed to get into the next game? Very interesting, Nintendo. Very interesting. That's literally all I have to say. This track is so boring. 55 is Water Park. This is such a disappointing track in my eyes. You had the insanely cool theme of a water park, and this course doesn't even have you go on a water slide. That is insane. It's basically there's one big anti-gravity left turn, and then there's this spinning cups ride, which is a cool shortcut. And then the course is basically over. It's so disappointing in my eyes. At least the music's good, but like all Mario Kart 8 music's good. That's not really a flex. It's just kind of sad this was a Mushroom Cup course and couldn't be expanded more. Except Mushroom Cup tracks can be expansive and cool and use their gimmicks well, like Dwant Ruins or Toad's Factory. So it's just really sad. 54 goes to 3DS Rosalina's Ice World. To start, I hate the song. The deep piano is unique, but I think it just sounds absolutely terrible. It is not that pleasant on the ears, and it kind of drowns out the melody, which I really like. I like the melody. I don't like that it drowns it out with this stupid, dark, deep piano. Besides that, to be honest, it is just an ice track, and it's kind of sad that Rosalina's only track is so just mediocre. I mean, it being at night is pretty cool, but until the 8 Deluxe version, the sky isn't really a cool night starry sky. It's kind of just night. And it's kind of just okay. I do like the galaxy references, but there's like not even that many. Like, why wouldn't you go all out with the references? Why would you only do like a few here and there? It's just kind of off. 53 is Bone Dry Dunes. This is basically just your cut and dry desert course, except it's orange. The bone piranha plants are pretty cool, and driving through dry Bowser is a pretty neat set piece. The problem is, in the quality level of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, it just falls short. It's kind of like Twisted Mansion. It drags down its cup, except Twisted Mansion is dragging down an okay cup, while Bone Dry Dunes is dragging down a phenomenal cup. I really like the 8 Special Cup, and just think the 8 Flower Cup's okay. And not only does that, but the track's music is just nothing. So like, what does bro do? What does this track even do? 52's DS Moo Farms. It's fine, pretty bland, not much to really talk about. It's less fun than the 64 version, because 64's controls and physics are a lot more bouncy than DS's, and DS's just having honestly better physics makes this course worse. The music is pretty nice, but that's about all I have to say. 51 is 8 Deluxe's Rosalina's Ice World. This is just a 3DS version, except they fixed the music, getting rid of the deep piano instead of having an actual beat. And it is a lot more pretty, with lots of purple in the sky, and just more starry. It is basically just Rosalina's Ice World, except they added a half pipe that kind of breaks the ice shortcut section, making it so you can take the shortcut on all 3 laps, and a visual upgrade, and a musical upgrade. Now, it doesn't really save the track, but you know, it gets it pretty high, up in D tier. This is the last course of D tier as well, so now we're going on to the average tracks. Now that we're done with D tier, here's that by the way, we're on to number 50, the first track of C tier, 3DS DK Pass. This track is just fine. Doesn't really stand out too much compared to, you know, something like DK Summit. It's just kind of an okay track in the 3DS lineup. Its music song, it's okay, it just doesn't fit a race, you know, it's very calming. And I guess being hit by a snowball and falling down for eternity is annoying, and it has that cool secret item box, which is neat, but I would never use it. Everything is just okay, in all honesty. Just a decent little mountain climb, and that's about it. GBA Donut Plains 1 is next at 49. The track looks nice, you know, Super Circuit has actually pretty good graphics for a GBA. And the problem really is that the background, being Riverside Park, does not fit Donut Plains at all. It's also sad that they got rid of the Monty moles, and the song is just a bit worse. This is just Donut Plains 1, but worse, but like not too much worse, because at least it's visually really nice. 48 is the SNES version of Donut Plains 1. The main differences between the two is that the background now actually fits a plains level instead of a jungle level, and the music is just a bit better. And that's really all I have to say. Let's go on to the next track. 47 is Wee Shy Guy Beach. This track is really fun on the Magic Cruiser specifically. The water is barely an off-road. It's like super light off-road. And even though it usually is heavy enough off-road where, other vehicles like slow down a good amount, the Magic Cruiser has such a high off-road stat that it is barely affected by the water, so you can just cut corners and take shortcuts, and it's a lot of fun. And because it comes after Sherbet Land in the Banana Cup, the Banana Cup in Mario Kart Wii is a really, really good cup for the Magic Cruiser, which is just fun. Besides that, cutting shortcuts through the water is fun, and the music is nice, so it's just overall a decent track. N64 Moo Moo Farms is at 46. The more bouncy physics and controls of Mario Kart 64, as well as it just having a really loose drifting system, makes the track so much more fun as opposed to the DS version. I don't know why, they are very similar, they should probably be next to each other, but I'm just more happy playing the 64 version as opposed to the DS version, which kind of has the problem of the DS retros feeling like lifeless ports of the original as opposed to being, remade. They just feel like lazier, and it kind of like sucks the soul out of Moo Moo Farms, and this is the original Moo Moo Farms with the soul. Fortunately, it's Moo Moo Farms, it can only go so high. 45 is Super Circuit's Shy Guy Beach. This is basically just the Wii version, except instead of having those cool water shortcuts, it just looks really good. It looks like a lot better than the Wii version in my opinion, because the Wii graphics, Mario Kart Wii graphics aren't all that, but Super Circuit sprite art works really nice. And I slightly prefer the music too, so it goes a bit higher. 44 is GBA Mario Circuit 3. This is the nicest Mario Circuit 3's ever looked, replacing that stupid yellow and green background that looks really bad, and replacing it with the nice jungle background of Mario Circuit on Super Circuit, which is really cool. It's decently fun to race on, but the only problem is it's just a bland circuit and the music is very bland as well. Overall, it's nice, but it's just bland. Bowser's Castle 3 on the GBA is next at 43. This is basically just Bowser Castle 3 from Super Mario Kart, except it has better music, better visuals, and no thwomps. It's a decent track, but it doesn't stand out too much next to the 7 Bowser Castles in Mario Kart Super Circuit. 42 is 3DS Bowser's Castle 1. This is a really neat track. Because it's one of the GBA Bowser's Castles, the music goes so hard. I love the bass in the GBA Bowser's Castle. It's quite simple and kind of short, but it's enjoyable. I like going around the thwomps and stuff. And that glider section, and glider shortcut especially, that they added on lap 2 and 3, is a really cool way to spice things up, that I end up taking all the time when I play this track. 41 goes to Bowser's Castle 3 on Wii. A Bowser's Castle with a dark blue sky is a really cool, and this track looks just awesome with the dark thunder clouds and the blue towers with the Bowser flag in the back. It's cool. It also has a really good song, again, the GBA Bowser's Castle theme slaps. And this track just works so unbelievably well with inside joke bites. It's so fun to master, taking every corner well, fitting in a wheelie when you can, trying to squeeze out that last mini turbo boost. And when you cook up on GBA Bowser's Castle 3, it's one of the most fun tracks to play in the game. A problem is it is quite long, but I enjoy playing it, so I don't really mind. And even though it doesn't count for this ranking, the shortcut adds to the fun to master part, even though, again, I'm not counting unintentional shortcuts for this ranking. They're not intentional. 40 is GBA Boo Lake. This is just your run-in-the-mill spooky track. For some reason, the Boo Lake has no lake. It has no water. It's just void. It's a cool spooky forest in the background, but it's outclassed by Broken Pier. And the music is fine, I guess. It's just all fine, so it goes in C tier. 39 is Ghost Valley 3 on the GBA. The Broken Pier background is a really cool background, even though it's just ripped from Broken Pier. The music is boring as always, like it is with all Ghost Valleys, and the track is just a good, spooky track that's fun to play and works well with Super Circuit's controls. Mario Circuit on the GameCube is 38. This track is just a fun little track. Double Dash's bouncy physics work really well with this track, whether it be bouncing off of the little hills at the Goomba section, or jumping off the bridge and having a little bounce when you land. It's just fun. Drifting around the chain chomp is really satisfying as well, and the music kinda slaps for this track. Double Dash has a really good circuit theme. This rounds it out to be a decent circuit. That's the thing though. It's a circuit. They're pretty bland, and most of the time, if your circuit doesn't do anything unique, it's gonna fall into C tier, like this track did. So I accidentally made an error when counting how many second tracks of a cut there are. I said 66, there's actually 71, so we're on number 42. And number 42 is Daisy Circuit. Daisy Circuit's a nice little track. It shows off gliding well, as this is like the first course where gliding is at its full potential, as you're gliding around the balloons in this nice little valley town. Toad's Circuit has gliding, but it only shows it for a bit on lap 2. So this is the first track. You get to experience how good 7 gliding is. And if this was in 9, which I want it to be 9, it would be a good first track. Retro's 9. I don't think it could do justice because its gliding would not be as good unless they fix the gliding. The climb up for me doesn't really do a whole lot. The goats are cute, I guess, but it's just kind of a boring climb up a hill. The glide down in the town part is pretty cool though. I do like it, and the song is okay, it just doesn't fit a race. It's overall just a decent track that does good at teaching the player. 41 is GBA Mario Circuit and Mario Kart 8. What they did with this track was pretty cool, I can't lie. Adding anti-gravity pretty well using an Ultra Hand, which is cool. And I like the gliding shortcut behind the trees, especially because you can cut the last turn if you go on the rainbow blocks, which is pretty cool. I enjoy that. The music is also just way too good for its own scenario. It uses the beta version of the GBA Mario Circuit theme, so it's a lot more bouncy, which is a cool little fact, and it's just overall a decent little circuit. Moo Moo Meadows is Moo Moo Meadows. It's a nice little farm track, and it's at 40. I prefer the Wii version of the song over 8, which I don't know if it's an unpopular opinion, but I like the Wii's guitar in the back. But the 8 does have a really good ending. The last 20 seconds of 8 are better. There's not a lot to say with Moo Moo Meadows. It's Moo Moo Meadows. What you see is what you get. And the Monty Moles are a cool hazard, I guess. 39 is N64 Yoshi Valley. I think this track is gassed up a bit too much. The fact you can't even see the racer's placements isn't a fun, unique thing because, you can't tell because there's all these different paths. It's just annoying. You could have figured out a system to make it work. And all you have to do is hold left on the first turn, take the really skinny bridge if you're feeling risky, or just take the path next to it with the porcupines. And that is all the gimmick of the track gone. It may sound like I'm complaining a lot, but this track has so much to complain about. One, when you fall down, it takes a good 5 to 10 seconds to get back into the race. And you're just tumbling there and you're just annoyed. This is a decent track. I'm probably complaining too much, but when I see people put this in A tier, I can't understand them. The giant egg is fun, and the bun music is very nice. But this is just an overhyped track through and through. 38 is Broken Pier. To start, the background of this track is really cool with these lava mountains. It's quite unique for a ghost house level, which is usually pretty boring. The gimmick of this level is that there's invisible bridges all around that you can take shortcuts, and this is a pretty cool gimmick that makes the track stand out from other spooky levels because most spooky levels have like very little shortcuts in them for some reason. Sadly, the music is boring, there's still no water even though it's up here, and it doesn't really stand out to me when I think of Super Circuit tracks. It's just kind of forgettable, but it's a decent course, so it goes in C. 37 is DS Choco Mountain. This is a fun little mountain. It feels like you're on a dangerous trek up on a journey because of how easy it is to fall off, especially after the drift around the rock falling part when you can just fall down and have to do it again. It reminds me of Super Circuit tracks like Lakeside Park or Ribbon Road. The music feels like a hootenanny and is very similar to Moo Moo Farms, and the drift around the bend with boulders is fun. It's just overall a solid track that I quite enjoy. 36 is DS Frappe Snowland. To start, I love Frappe's theme. It's so fun and jolly. The nice dark blue is so nice, and I love its skybox with the snow. The snow and snow statues have this nice yellowish blue color that's really nice. Sadly, this is much worse than the original N64 version because the death zones on the snow plains are a lot more strict, so it's a lot harder to take mini shortcuts on the snow. So that just sucks. We will see the N64 version much later though. Spot 35 belongs to the BCP's DS Mario Circuit. This track is really fun to zip through with lots of shortcut opportunities, and the forest section with the epic wiggler is a lot of fun. The unique fire-spitting piranha plants that they added to the game from DS is such a cool enemy, and I hope it gets used a lot in Mario Kart 9. It's a very, cool enemy and has lots of potential. The music is good, but again, this is just a circuit, and even though that forest section with the epic wiggler is very epic, we love the wiggler, there's so much you can do with Mario's circuit. Now that we're halfway through, let's rank every second battle course in this series real quick. We're ranking 11 of these, and before we get into it, make sure to like and subscribe and join the Discord if you enjoy my content. 11 is Dry Jar Desert, and 8 because this is not a battle mode. This is a race course you're battling on. Number 10 is 7 Sherbet Land, or Sherbet Rink, or whatever. Who cares? This track sucks. Why would you have ice physics when battling? It's so hard to battle on this. 9 is GBA Battle Course 2 on Wii because it is just way too big. It should be like half the size. 8 is Block City from Double Dash. Well, this looks like a cool track. It's basically just 4 squares and that's it. 7 is Battle Course 2 from Super Mario Kart because it has a nice beach theme and it's solid design, I guess. Next up, we have Super Circuits Battle Course 2 because it is lava, and lava is cool. Twilight House is at 5 because it's a cool spooky track, and when you run into players and have a mini jump scare, it's quite fun. 4 is Big Donut in 7 because the problem that this track had in the N64 version is kind of fixed. Because in the N64 version, people would just run away and it'd be a cat and mouse chase. But the glider ramp helps with that. 3, Sweet Sweet Kingdom. The theme is a bop. You're listening to it now. And it's just a really pretty track. 2 is the Block Fort. This is just the Mario Kart Battle Mode track. And it's just really well designed with lots of places to do battle. 1 is Delfino Pier. The fact that halfway through you have to go up to the roof. It's a nice, fun, expansive map. And it needs to be brought back in a good battle mode. Because the problem is this is so underrated. Because no one wants to play Wii battle mode, sadly. 34 is Mario Circuit 2 and 7. I wish I had more to say about this. Because this is a decently fun circuit. They added a glider and a bumper. And the TAS is pretty cool. Honestly, the glider saves the whole track. It's such a cool way to change up a SNES course. Sadly, this is still a SNES circuit. These things are never gonna be above C tier. Now that we're done with C tier, here's that by the way. We're on to number 33,
Excite Bike Arena. The fact this level changes the ramps each time is cool. And this is such a good homage to Excite Bike. The music is also really good, and I like how it uses retro 8-bit sounds. This is just a really unique course, and the fact that it generates and changes each time is so unique for a Mario Kart track. Sadly, the course boils down to holding up on the analog stick, holding A, and tricking. But hey, it feels like Excite Bike, and it's a really good way to start off B tier. 32 is Ribbon Road on the GBA. This level is bursting with creativity. It feels so abstract, and it kind of reminds me of a Mario Galaxy levels. You know, all these colorful presents and fun designs in the void. It's very Mario Galaxy-esque. It's so colorful and fun, and even though it doesn't really make sense, it doesn't have to. It's a present world, live with it. The music is also so good. I like the surf rock that it's going for. The real problem is the actual track design is just fine. You know, the big jump is fun, I guess, but you know, it's not too special, and there's nothing on the roads. It is kind of just all spectacle and not too much substance. But you know, it's enough substance that it goes in a B. It's a slightly above average track. I like it. 31 is BCP Boo Lake. This level looks really nice for a BCP track, and they actually added the lake to Boo Lake. Let's go! And it's used in such a fun, creative way, dipping into the water and out of the water. And considering how little underwater is used in the BCP, like, I think less than 6 tracks use it, I'm pretty sure. I can only think of Piranha Plant Cove and this track. And Ice World, I guess. So I can think of 3. The themes is a lot better to do. And the shortcut is fun. And the music slaps. This is just a blast of a spooky track that I quite like. BCP DK Mountain is next up there. The main thing this track suffers from is Mario Kart 8 controls. Even though it is graphically a glow up, the controls of Mario Kart 8 being so good kind of ruins a lot of the flair of this track. The track is supposed to feel like you're rushing down an active volcano, like you're barely in control, you're barely making this turn. You know, you're right at the edge of the sea, making these U-turns in the forest. Both it kind of just feels like a leisurely stroll. Even though it was brought back in Wii, when we had better controls, they weren't quite good enough where it ruined the problem. But with 8, controls are just such more of a leap, so much better, that it not ruins it, but it makes the track worse. And also, the song is just fine. It is nothing special, to be honest, even though it's the funny monkey sounds. 29 is 8 Donut Plains 3. To start, the front-running version of the music track is in my top 5 Mario Kart songs of all time. It's that good. It's so catchy. The track is so much fun, being able to cut corners in the water, charging the purple mini turbos. It's a blast. And even though visually it is quite boring, it's still a very fun SNES track to play through that I quite enjoy a lot. And I feel this track's underrated. I don't get people that say it's D tier. It's so much fun and has really good music. 28 belongs to the 3DS Mario Circuit. This is probably the best Mario Circuit in the whole series, and it escaped C tier to low B. The cherry blossom trees are so nice, and the drift outside the castle onto that glider ramp is a really cool set piece, and this is just such a unique circuit. It also has really good music, and the pipe kind of reminds me of Mario Raceway at the end. It is kind of hard to hate this track. One complaint I do have is that Mushroom is kind of a blind jump. But you know, after the first time, you know, it doesn't really bother you after the first time. And it's not even like that difficult of a blind jump. 27 is GCN Peach Beach. This is such a nice calming track. The songs are so nice. And the Cataquacks are a top 3 Mario Kart hazard. The way Double Dash's drifting works makes it so you can dodge the Cataquacks by driving straight and then just holding a drift so that your kart angle changes. And this kind of feels like a tutorial level, teaching the player how to dodge like items and bananas and stuff by drifting.
which it works really well with all these cataquacks. And if you get hit by a cataquack, you deserve it. Like, you probably not drifting well. So it's a fair hazard and really fun. And this track just has vibes overall. BCP Choco Mountain is our 26th spot. They added a glider ramp and a cave. And these two little details, they don't really spruce up the track much, but they're just such a fun addition to an originally okay but kind of boring track. You know, it makes it into a quite decent track. The cave is pretty. I really like the blue crystals. You know, there's swoops now. Who doesn't love swoops? And that fun glider section is pretty fun to target red shell players into the abyss, as well as the new song rendition being quite nice. So it's just overall a pretty fun track and a good way to spruce up a boring N64 track. 25 is 3DS of Dino Dino Jungle. This track is kind of hurt by the fact that 7 has way less slippery controls as opposed to Double Dash. The age and, you know, the advancements in Mario Kart controls is just going to make this track worse and worse over time. Because part of the fun was the slippery controls and like barely staying on the bridge, because it was designed for Double Dash's controls. It is still fun and it's a really cool track. The added glider segments are so cool and creative. Like gliding over the abyss is really fun, and tricking on the dino head is absolutely awesome. I wish this track just had more dinosaurs. Only one that interacts with the course is kind of sad. And that glider shortcut at the very end where you go over the gate, even though it's not intentional, it's just really fun to do. This is overall just a pretty solid track. Sadly, the music though is still mid. BCP Snowland comes in at 24. I love the Snowland tracks, and this is no exception. It's such a fun, bouncy song that plays, especially when it goes like da 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 da. That part, it's so much fun. I adore the light purple skybox. It's so nice, and it works so well with the light snow. And the item boxes gliding across the track is just fun. Sadly, the track layout is just kind of basic, so it can't go too high, so it slots in right here in B tier. BCP Riverside Park is a really cool way to spice up an originally semi-bland track. Adding the Batuis is such a fun enemy, and skillfully hitting them with a green shell to get a mushroom boost or drop a banana is quite fun. The cave section is an awesome addition that really needed this to spice up the track. And it's really hectic on lap 3 when everyone's bolting to the end and green shells are flying around, bananas placed from earlier laps. It is just really fun. The music's also amazing. The nice trumpets are so loud and grandiose, and the sunset's pretty. All this gives the track the 23rd spot. 22 is Double Dash's Dino Dino Jungle. You can tell that Dino Dino was made for Double Dash. The slippery controls make this course so much more fun and difficult. The bridge section barely staying on, and if you get knocked, you get bumped a lot in Double Dash if you get hit by zooming players, so it's often you'll fall off the bridge. Drifting around the geysers barely because of how Double Dash's drift works is a lot of fun. And going off the ramp at the very end, when you do that little bounce, because Double Dash is very bouncy, that's also a blast. Using Double Dash's drifting to weave around the dino's feet is way more fun than just lightly handling in the 7 version. And it's what I enjoy a lot more. And even though they have no glider in the Double Dash version, I still prefer it because of how much more difficult and fun it is. I love N64 Frappe Snowland. It's at 21 for these reasons. 1. It is just such a beautiful track. I love the dark blue sky and the whitish blue snow. It just looks so nice for an N64 track. The music is so jolly and it fits the snowy night sky thing going this track has perfectly. I love it and listen to it a lot. It's such a fun Mario Kart song. 3, and the most important reason, and why it's like a whole tier above the DS version, is because you can actually do shortcuts on the snow hills, because the death boxes are way less strict. And that is just so much fun to do
drifting and hopping over the snow, that it shoots this track up to the top of B. The last track of B tier is BCP Shroom Ridge. To start, the music is such a bop, I love it. It has the grandiose live instruments, but it has that DS synth feel. So it's like a mix of 8's music and DS's music, which is so cool. This is quite a challenging traffic course for Mario Kart 8 standards, which is good because I feel like the traffic courses in Mario Kart 8 aren't challenging enough. They don't really feel like other challenging traffic courses like Mushroom City or Moonview Highway or OG Toad's Turnpike. The fact that the course is really narrow and you're surrounded by walls kind of gives it this like countryside feel, like you're on a road trip, which is fun. That added glider shortcut before the tunnel is a really neat way to spice up the track. And let's not forget that wind box shortcut, which is such a cool creative shortcut that I wish Mario Kart 8 did more often. It reminds me of those like wind geyser glider cuts from 7 in like Neo Bowser City or Woohoo Loop. Sadly, 8 doesn't really have a lot of those, which sucks. This is just a really good way to end off B tier. And here's B tier, by the way. Now let's move on to A tier. 19 is 8 Cheeseland. This is a track that if it had the Starry Night of the original, it would be an easy yes. This track is so much fun to play though. Drifting through the track just feels so nice. Those glider shortcuts that were added makes this track a blast if you get something like a star or a golden mushroom, and it makes races really intense with like picture perfect finishes. It's also just really creative, like that shortcut where you drive through a cheese hole is really neat. The main problem with this track is the whole look. The aesthetic is just kind of boring. It's just a lot of yellow. And yeah, like stuff like the pizza in the background is neat, but it all kind of just blends together to yellow. But if it had that night starry sky of the original, all I'm saying, easy yes. 18 goes to Wii Moonview Highway. This track is very difficult, which is good and bad. Sometimes the cars are a fair challenge, and other times they're kind of bullshit. The city area is by far the best part of the track, and it is an amazing part. Like, dashing through the city on some boost panels, zipping through cars and traffic, it's just such a blast, and the city is just so pretty with so much details. Like, the Peach poster, for example, uses the Pikmin font, which I find really fun. Sadly, the countryside area, which is like everything before the Red Bridge, is just okay. But hey, past that bridge onwards is such a good track, and the fact that the city version has its own unique theme is really cool. Wario Shipyard is at 17. This is such a cool track. It's by far one of the best uses of underwater in the whole series. A gloomy, dark, thunderstorming shipwreck is such a cool set piece for a racetrack. And the underwater makes the track a lot more difficult, because like especially that one part with the wind gusts, the turn feels really floaty and weird, but I like it, it's cool. Also, the fact that the song samples some Wario Land music is really cool, and this feels like a great track that they should bring back in 9, as like the prized water track, like the one water track we really need, because underwater is mostly a mediocre gimmick. The color schemes of this level is so cool, with all the purple, and hey, that mud part where you use a mushroom and jump through that little hole in the anchor is also dope. This is just overall a really cool track that's kind of hard to hate. 16 is DS Sky Garden. This is the only good DS retro track, period. It's so shortcut heavy, and the fun song is so great and whimsical. It really makes you feel like you're in a sky garden. The color palette is so nice, with a nice minty green gate road and the buttermilk white clouds. It's just really pretty to look at. And there's so much shortcuts on this track. There's so much you can do, so unique. There's like so much paths you can take. And to be honest,
There's not really a lot to say because this is literally just the Sky Garden from GBA, but on the DS. But again, taking one of the best courses from Super Circuit and putting it on the DS, it's still going to be a great course. So it goes here at number 16. 15 is DS TikTok Clock. This is such a great track. TikTok Clock has such a funky beat. It really feels like you're inside a clock, which I know I've been saying that a lot, but it captures the essence of an alarm perfectly. The track theme is great. Racing inside TikTok Clock is neat, and if you had to pick a Mario Kart 64 level to make it to a Mario Kart track, this was probably the best choice. The track gimmick of the track always being in motion, whether it be the spinning pendulums in that one section, the spinny bars in the part where you're going from gear to gear, the spinny gears in that section, or it would be the spinny cogs that you go on at the end. It's just a really cool way to design a track, and I wish more tracks kind of had a gimmick of like certain movement, whether it be spinning or swaying or stuff like that. The main problem of the track is just that it's on the DS, but that's kind of a nitpick. It's just a thing for its time, but the 8 version fixes that, which is why I like it a lot more. This is still a great track though, so it goes an A. BCP Daisy Cruiser comes into the 14th spot. The rendition of this theme is heavenly. I love the violins, and the strings put me on strings. It is miles better than the Double Dash, Wii, and 7 version. The path at the start being so there's now the left path available is cute, even though it's kind of pointless. You never really want to take the left path. And being able to go into the pool feels way more natural than having to drift around the pool in the Double Dash version. The added underwater basement area is so cool, with you having to take a really big outside drift to get into it. And it kind of works with the mentality of the slower path gets you the bigger reward, which is nice. The table section is just blind fun to dodge, and the added Shy Guys and Yoshis on the table is cool. This is just an overall heavenly track that's so nice to look at, and it's so nice on the ears. 8's rendition of SNES Rainbow Road is at 13. This is just a fun, difficult track. There's not much to it. It is just good track design without the fluff. The music hits so hard. I love listening to this track. I do slightly prefer the SNES version though, surprisingly, in Super Mario Kart. The vast nothingness of the void with the nice rainbow tiled road. In my opinion, the SMK Rainbow Road is the prettiest rainbow road, like the road itself. I like the rainbow on the rainbow road the best. But the vast nothingness of this black void with just this random track in the middle of nowhere is so interesting. You're just racing around this over and over infinitely with no way to escape. It's almost liminal in a way. The music also helps with this feel, and it's just overall a really aesthetically interesting track, despite being nothing. The 8 version has the new Super Mario Bros. Hills and like clouds in the background, and it destroys this whole racing in somewhere random in space with absolutely nothing vibe. The shaking thwomps and new shortcuts and stuff help remedy this with making it a more interesting track, but I just prefer the vast nothingness and the weird, interesting liminal feel the original had. But we're not talking about the original, we're talking about the 8 version, and the 8 version is still quite solid. 12 is Mushroom City. This track aesthetically is one of the nicest in the game. It captures the bustling city vibe so well, and while I do think 8's Moonview Highway city section is the best looking city part in Mario Kart when it's just looks, I feel like Double Dash's Mushroom City captures the vibe of a bustling city a lot better. Mushroom City is one of the best tracks in terms of feeling like what it's inspired on. Like, it feels like you're racing on a highway so much. It's almost identical. The song is just so incredible. I love it. The nice saxophone, the bouncy bass that makes me want to scream. It just makes me so happy, and it almost feels like you're waiting for a subway or something. The gimmick of being able to take multiple identical routes is really cool. but I don't really think it changes up the gameplay enough from path to path. Like, the paths are supposed to be identical, it's a highway. But because of that, it just doesn't really do much to me. Like, usually, I just drive straight, drift into the double item box, drive forward, and then take the right. And it's just the same every time, and I don't really feel inspired to change my direction. It's cool, but it doesn't really do too much gameplay-wise. And honestly, in my opinion, this is actually, by a hair, the weakest track in Double Dash Star Cup, which is just a really, really good cup. It's barely the weakest behind like Yoshi Circuit, which sucks, but hey, it's still incredible and I really like it. I just think it is oversold a bit. Wii Coconut Mall is 11. The track is such a cool concept. Driving through a mall is so just awesome. And the track has an amazing theme. It sticks to the mall thing very well. Like, at some point, you're driving through the centerpiece of the mall where you're going over a fountain. And then you go downstairs to the food court, which makes so much sense for a mall themed track. And hey, I would want to eat at Pianta Burger, so that's pretty dope. Also, the fact that this is a Pianta themed mall track, they just added the Piantas because they felt like giving the Pianas something. And that's so cool. Like, I love when random characters get random things. Like, Wario randomly gets a stadium, or Luigi gets a mansion, or Toad gets a harbor. It's so fun. That's why I prefer the Mario Kart idea over Nintendo Kart idea, or just having like basic Mario tracks like a good at Galaxy track. I prefer like the unique settings of Mario Kart, and this is a unique setting. Like, in my headcanon, this Coconut Mall is on Isle Delfino somewhere, and you know, the Piantas go there for shopping. Jumping outside of the roof of the mall is one of the most satisfying things in all of Mario Kart Wii. It just feels so nice, even though it is the slower path. But if you take the bottom path, you're just lame, straight up. Like, no one likes you. It's just a blast of a track. Like, that shortcut going through the shop, that is so amazing. I wish we went through shops more in Coconut Mall. It makes so much sense for the track. The Mii's being scattered around is a nice track, and the traffic segment at the end, weaving through to hit the boost panels but avoiding the cars, is a good risk-reward segment. Like, do you go for the speed, or do you go play it safe and go away from the cars? It's a lot of fun and a great way to end off a pretty good track. Starting off our top 10 is Toad Harbor. This is such a gorgeous track. Like, to start, the song, so just happy. Feels like you're on this sunny little shore with the loose guitar playing in the background and the occasional whistles. It feels like you're like walking on a sunny park in a cartoon. And it's just so chipper and fun. To start, the left path jumping over the water, pretty fun and difficult. Hey, and all those paths, whether it be going on top of the market stands, or taking a big drift to the boost panel, or just going through the boxes, there's so many paths in that one small section. The up and down, like, beige paths, they're pointless, but you know, they're a pretty cool area of the track. And going on the anti-grav platform, even though it's much slower, it's really fun zooming through. You know, it has that slower path for item boxes philosophy down to a T. And zooming down with the tram cars is just dumb fun. And there's even that path where you can go take an item. And honestly, I don't think anyone's ever used that. But hey, the slower path for an item philosophy, even though it kind of sucks in this regard. And hey, the fact that you can jump off of the boost panels and onto the trams, get a really, really big jump for no reason, that's just fun. It's just dumb fun. This is a fantastic course for Flower Cup that's a blast to race through. 19 is DS Peach Gardens. Driving through Peach's courtyard in Royal Garden is such a cool, just perfect idea for a track. It just makes sense. Like, Mario Kart is all about driving around these characters' wacky locations, And driving in the backyard of the castle just makes so much sense, as we've only really drove in front of it with the circuits and inside it with Mario Circuit 7 and stuff like that and Royal Raceway. But we never drove behind it, and this does that. And it's pretty cool. To start, the first section with the fountain and the first turn with the off-road patch, it just flows. It just feels nice to drift through, and that's about that. And then there's the part where you drive down and see the hedges and the chain chomps. And this is just amazing track design. You see where the chain chomps are going when you're driving down the ramp. You know, you can see where they're heading. And because when you're in the hedges, you can't really see the chain chomps, you're supposed to use the knowledge you gained from seeing where the chain chomps are going to make the educated decision on what path to take and where to go in the hedges. And that's just really fun and a really cool way to design a track that I wish more tracks did. The Monty Mole section, it's fine, it's satisfying to drift through, and finishing it off by going on the porch is nice. The Wii remake is next at 8. And this is just the same track, except Wii's controls, and especially on an inside drift bike, it just feels better to play Peach Gardens on a wheelie and inside drift bike. And you know, Mario Kart Wii has better controls that work for DS Peach Gardens. But hey, because this is basically the same thing, let me talk about the music for Peach Gardens. The violin is lovely, and the strings just going up and down and up and down and up and down in the background is nice. It's nice and melancholic, and it's just a really neat tune. And it's a fantastic track to end A tier. The A version of Peach Gardens is the start of our S tier. This is the same Peach Gardens we know and love, except on lap 3, you can go backwards, and that is such a cool addition to bring from Tour. And I kind of wish they did that with more tracks. And it's pretty much the same track, except it looks nicer, and hey, that lap 3 edition, especially where you can high-five Luigi, it's just great, so it goes here. 8 is Ribbon Road at number 6. This is such an incredible way to revamp a decent track, but not too special. Taking it from a present world in space to a kid's toy room, it just makes so much sense for the track, and works way better than the original theming did. The ribbons make for such a fun just road, and the fact that they're separated into red, green, and blue, you know, it's nice for my memory, you know, so I know which part of the track I'm on. It's just neat. It just looks really good. And the blue ribbon is such a cool, almost hazard. It creates a risk and reward scenario when you're on it, because do you want a trick to get speed boost, or do you want to, you know, avoid a few tricks so you don't fall off? You have to decide in time with every single one of these big curlying almost. Also, those 2 shortcuts that are there are just so much fun to do. You know, they're 2 of the hardest shortcuts in the game. Like that glider one, you have to take it a really specific angle, and it's extra hard because the ramp is going up and down and up and down, and the ribbon's going crazy. But when you nail it, it is so much fun. And those clown cars just look so fun, and they just work so well for this track. I kind of wish this track had more hazards, you know? Add more kid hazards on like the red rope section, for example. More toys, it'd be a lot of fun. Anyways, the music, the surf rock works so well for this track, even though it really shouldn't. It just fits the vibe perfectly. And the background theming and stuff, like the Mario Kart 8 poster and the Biddy Bug, it's just so much attention to detail that I really love, and this track is just great. 5 belongs to Dolphin Shoals. Obviously, the song is one of the best in the game. That saxophone is just incredible. Jumping on the hoops off the ramp with the dolphins just makes me happy. The dolphins are so cute and awesome. The multiple paths in the pipe section, it's fun because you're able to can change your movement and horizontal movement in the air underwater so much. So you know you can pick a section, a path on the pipe, and then, you know, change because you can. And tricking off of the eel is so much fun, so satisfying. Feels great to do, and referencing the eel from Mario 64 and other games, it's just really cool.
And when you take that final drift and the saxophone comes in full blast, it's just incredible. There's nothing like it. This track is also this high because it is gorgeous. The rocks are so well detailed, the water looks so nice, and in my opinion, this is the best looking track in all of Mario Kart. So, you know, that boosts it pretty high. Same with the music, but the course itself is also really good. It'd probably just be an A tier. But that just boosts it to S, so it goes here. Before it goes to Delfino Square, this is my favorite DS course wallet. A Pianta themed square is just a great idea for a track. This is like probably a square or a town, just like somewhere on Isle Delfino. That's pretty small and it's pretty cool. The song is simple but great, and it works so well to fit the quaint little town and autumn vibes it kind of has going. The track is just a lovely aesthetic. I love driving through these alleys and through these neighborhoods and with the bridge, going through the market. It is just so nice to look at. And all the shortcuts on the track make this really feel like the best player wins in this situation. Like whether it be using a mushroom to go on the bridge, which is kind of difficult. You know, you have to quickly align yourself so you don't fall off into the water. And the mushroom path is kind of a difficult drift when you're going out and you have too much speed from the mushroom, so you fall off onto the water. And that big jump at the end, it's just so amazing and fun, and it's stupid, but it's satisfying. And it just is a great way to end off this course. The Koopa Cape goes straight into our bronze place. This is such a fun track. To start jumping off the Koopa sign, which is cool. Like jumping in front of the Koopa sign, great acceptance. Definitely the best Koopa sign of the three caves. The cave section has this really cool strat where you see the Goomba over the grass. You can actually throw a shell at it so it drops mushrooms so you can go over the grass, and that's just really neat. The water section is just really fun. There's so much little shortcuts like going behind the tree or going behind the shell, and it has a great sense of speed because of the rushing water, and it's just paced really well. And then there's the underwater section, and this is just a great game design. Do you take the risk of going on the fast water, and how long do you want to go in the fast water? Because if you get zapped by the zappers, it is going to be absolutely terrible. So you have to do good dodging it, and you have to see how long you can go in the water, or if you can stay on the water and go in between the zappers. You have to do all that while you're rushing towards it, and it's just really fun to do, and great game design. And after that, the track is pretty much over, and the waterfall area is pretty cool. You know, and this music is just so bouncy and fun, and the fact that there's 3 renditions for this one track, which is the most in all of Mario Kart, is just amazing. There's so much little detail in this track, and it shows. Piranha Plant Slide is such a good track to be a runner-up. Starting by going underground through the pipes, and seeing the return of the rushing water from Koopa Cape, which doesn't work as well here, but it is a great way to speed up the track and make the pacing good. The Piranha Plant in the middle is a neat guardian to the secret, useless middle path, but hey, it's kind of cool, and if you want to take it, you can. Then there's these areas with the brown blocks, and it's just cool to bounce and trick off the brown blocks, even though it's not very special, but hey, it's faster than going underground, so you're trying to do it, and it is a cool Mario Bros. 1 reference. Then you go into the best underwater section in all of Mario Kart. Water jets will turn on and off, opening and closing paths, which is just a really cool way to use a kind of mediocre gimmick. And hell, you can even jump over the Piranha Plant in the middle, guarding the exit if the water jet is on, which is just a really cool sequence to do. The music is so good, you know, the bass in the background, it feels so nice. It's playing the underground theme, and it's great to fully sell the Mario Bros. 1 inspiration of the track. And you finish the track by going to 1-1, which the cannon launch is just dumb fun. And the fake Goombas and fake plants are pretty cool, even though, you know, they don't really make sense. They're a nice way to spice up the track before it ends. And this is a great track, but now we're getting to the final track, number 1. This is probably a shock to most of you, but number one, the best second track in the cup, is 8's Sherbetland. I just did not feel very strongly about either way of this track, but then I changed and realized I love this. The glorious HD of Mario Kart 8 is what this track really needed. You know, the nice fireworks in the background add so much personality. It feels like you're on a community skating festival with the Shy Guys there and those like fire pillars and the decorations everywhere, and it's just such a nice vibe. The Freezy section looks way cooler than the original, though gameplay wise it is probably worse because Double Dash has a lot looser controls than 8, and the 8 Freezies are a lot less deadly. But hey, the visuals of this section kind of make up for it, and that cool shortcut added is just neat. I love the fireworks in the background. The Freezies look so cool. I love the white eyes they were given. And this just has so much more personality and flair, and just so much more than the original. Then there's that snow area in the middle. It's not a bad part, it's just kind of filler in the middle that isn't bad, isn't good, it's just kind of there. And then the fact that they added underwater so seamlessly to the track, unlike something like Wario Stadium, is so cool. It feels so natural to go into the water, and it's just a really cool set piece. The cave section looks way more interesting and way more pretty than the original. And even though it's lacking the faces that Double Dash had, it is still a great look, and I just love this track, even though most people seem to think it's only okay. The song is quite charming and cute. I like the fiddles going along in the song, and it's just nice, even though it's quite quaint and simple. This is an incredible track to end off our list, and I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for making it to the end. Make sure to like and subscribe, and join the Discord if you're interested. So, until next time.